I'm Alec Kerr, the entertainment editor for the Conway Daily Sun, and I'm joined by Ava Frechette, who has published her first book.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. It's very surreal. It's been a long time coming, so it's definitely not quite sunk in yet all the way, but I'm very excited.
And this was a project you started during COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So the release date is 6 days from now, June 10th, and that would be 4 years to the day since I started working. So.
And this is called Divided.
Divided, yep.
And it is a YA, young adult, dystopian.
Yes.
Which is a very popular genre.
Yes, very much so.
So what drew you to writing this story?
I would say that I've always been a very big reader. That's been a huge part of my upbringing. And when I was, I think in the 6th grade, I read this, dystopian series, and it was the first time I'd ever experienced that genre. And I kind of thought, like, wow, this is really cool. It's, just fantastic enough. And when it came down to writing this book, I guess, the whole astrological idea that was in my mind kind of fit the best with the dystopian genre and the theme surrounding that. So.
And what was your elevator pitch or like quick little description?
Okay. It's a book set in future dystopian America where a almost apocalyptic war has taken place, and the country is now split into 12 sectors based on the zodiac so that people of similar traits stay together, and that kind of ensures that there's no conflict. However, the 4 protagonists in the novel kind of go about discovering some secrets that the government has kept hidden from them, and in true dystopian fashion, things kind of spiral out from there.
Yeah, and there is a flaw in that logic of putting like-minded people together.
Yes, definitely.
Because the different sectors, there's one sector that is gold-plated buildings and other buildings that are in poverty, and people are aware of these disparities, and yet somehow they're not supposed to be upset about it.
Right, yeah, that kind of, I definitely tried to draw as much as I could on, real life and real world issues so that it doesn't seem, too far-fetched, and it is, there's definitely an element of, reality in there as well, so.
And when you started writing this, did you sketch out like the plot, or did you just start writing and it was like a short story and then it just kept ballooning?
Well, the notes app on my phone was my best friend to start out with. I kind of just jotted down mostly stuff about the characters that were in my brain. But as for like plotting, I was very young and very inexperienced, and so I kind of just started writing, and then I realized that was just not gonna work. I needed some sort of direction. So I kind of created an outline, and I did, sketch a little map of the world that these characters exist in. So I wasn't really flying by the seat of my pants as far as having no plan, but I definitely started out very much, with no outline, with no plan.
And do you remember the first thing you wrote for this?
Yes. I started with a prologue that has since been cut completely. It started out in the first person, and it is now being published in the third person narrative. And so it was a first person, narrated prologue that just didn't make the final cut. But I do remember that. It was in my study hall freshman year of high school. I was sitting in my study hall, and that was or it might have been fall of sophomore year. I was sitting in my study hall and just started writing. So.
And what were your influences? I know you mentioned you read this dystopian, but were there particular books and authors that inspired you?
I would say definitely that one series I read. That was called the Gone series by Michael Grant. And mainly, I guess, there's too many books to count that like I grew up with and that kind of shaped me. But I would say I was definitely influenced by teachers, friends, community members who, you know, not only encouraged me, but also helped guide me and helped me kind of bounce ideas off of and help me kind of find my way when I was, you know, straying from the path a little bit. So that definitely helped with the influence aspect.
How many times did you watch The Hunger Games?
A lot. A lot. Yeah, that's kind of my go-to. People say, oh, yeah, like, what's a similar book? And I'm like, well, it's sort of Hunger Games-y in a sense. Yes, I watched it quite a few times. There's not really many, you know, direct ties besides the sectors and the dystopian, but otherwise that's kind of the go-to.
And what draws you to astrology and the zodiac?
Actually, it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. You know, I was a teenage girl, so I knew, you know, what my sun sign was, and I knew kind of what that meant a little bit, but it was kind of, I guess it was an idea that was, you know, put in my mind, and then I kind of realized, wait, people think about this a lot, and this is really important to people. And when I started doing research, I kind of found it super coincidental, like how things related to astrology that actually, you know, were how people, you know, were like in real life. And so I thought that was just a really interesting concept, and I've not really seen that in a like fiction market before, so I thought it would be a cool concept to write on.
And which character is sort of your avatar?
Oh man.
Are you in all of them a little bit, or
yeah,
is there one in particular?
Definitely in all of them. I think that was the hardest part, was trying to draw from both myself and also, you know, not people that don't exist. I had to make these people up, and so that kind of, it helps to have a foundation of like small similarities that I had myself, I guess. But it kind of ranges from like, you know, the physical to small little details about them, to certain mannerisms. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of me in each of them.
And do some of your other family members show up?
Actually, no. I get that question a lot. Like, oh, is there a character based off so-and-so or so-and-so, you know? And I really tried not to base characters off people I knew in real life, just because I didn't really want to go in with any, you know, bias, good or bad, I guess.
Yeah.
But like the signs of the protagonists, I drew off of what I already knew. So the main protagonist is a Taurus. My brother's a Taurus, so I kind of like watched him a little bit. And then my mom and my sister are both Aries, so that was in there too. And so I definitely drew off of what I knew of their zodiac signs and kind of like almost studying their behavior in a way. But I wouldn't say there's any characters based off of them.
Is there things that, you know, friends and family might go, oh, like inside, like joke or something that kind of slid in there?
Honestly, probably. I can't give you a definitive yes or no off the top of my head. But I'm sure that there would be, you know, little references here and there. There's definitely, I tried to use like the manner of speaking for the four main characters because they are teenagers. And so I definitely, you know, listened a little closer to my brother and sister and like tried to figure out how like speech would work and that kind of thing. So that might be recognizable, but I would say probably somewhere. I mean, knowing me, there's probably some, you know, inside reference.
Yeah. And obviously you have done a lot of acting. If you were to adapt this for the stage, what would it look like? Man. What things might be cut? What things would you have to add?
See, that's really hard because you don't really see dystopian stuff adapted for stage productions very often because they're just so
they're huge.
Huge, yeah. Oh my goodness. I would say projections would be my friend, probably. When it comes to the big walls and the cities and that kind of thing, I would say for space's sake, I would say projection would probably be important.
And would you go for musical?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, why not? That would be fun. I'm not really sure how, like, peppy the music would be, but I think that could be something interesting to think about.
So this is book 1 of 4.
4, yes.
Have those been written? Are they sketched out?
Yes. So all 3 following Divided have some kind of rough draft finished. The final book is not done. The ending is done. I know how it ends, but the final book is not done. But 2 and 3 are, ready to be edited and revised, and so that's at a good jumping off place, I think. So.
And what would you say the audience for this is?
Well, by definition, YA is 12 to 18, I think. But it really, when I was sort of marketing it, I kind of said it's whoever is interested, whoever feels like they can find something in the book. And that's why I set out writing in the first place, is so people could see themselves and see their world and their problems within a book like this. So I would say anyone who's interested.
And what themes do you think will resonate the most with people?
Some popular themes I think that I definitely made sure to include was like the found family kind of trope, how people who are not related by blood can 100% become family and be close and rely on each other, and that's really important. And of course with dystopian, there's the battle scenes and the revolutions and the finding of not only yourself but of this world and this goal that's much bigger than you. And so that resonated with me a lot, and I wanted to make sure I did that justice.
And how did you go about, since these characters are all sort of supposed to be locked into personality types of their signs, how did you go about making that distinct?
So with each sign, I had a glossary that I made for myself, and I picked 3 positive traits and 3 negative traits for each of the 12 signs. And so I just, when I was, making these characters, writing their dialogues and their arcs and that kind of thing, I just constantly referenced that glossary to make sure that they were, kind of sticking within their signs. They're staying in their box a little bit, and that they are, these dystopian, like, revolutionaries who, disagree with the way things are run, and they do want to change it. But it was also important that they were so shaped by this world that, 6 traits does define them as much as they try to not let it, So I definitely referenced that research and stuff over and over again.
And for those people that do read this book, what can they expect moving forward?
I would say, man, that's a tough question. I would say definitely I'm very excited to see how this kind of resonates with people and how they relate to these characters. And as for the following books, things only, get more complicated, chaotic from here, but it also gets, we see these characters get closer and closer, and we see things, problems being solved and problems being created. And so there's definitely, it's a wild ride for sure, but it's definitely one that's worth, reading and looking into.
And I know when writing, they're all your darlings, but
yes.
Do you have a favorite character?
That's tough. I definitely have a favorite to write. So the book it's in the third person, but it, the main point of view differs from character to character based on the chapter. And I would say that one of the most fun to write was definitely Cameron's point of view chapters. He's just a very, fun character, definitely the the life of the party and a lot of that. So I liked to play around with his humor and also his, you know, his coming into this group of other people who already knew each other. And so kind of being able to play around with how he fit into the group and stuff was definitely a lot of fun. But as for like favorite overall, they're definitely, it's all of them. I could never choose.
And with these YA dystopian, there's always a love story aspect.
Yes.
So have you been leaning into that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that you know, I don't want to give too much away, but I would say that the love story that does unfold is definitely a very important one, and it is one that really shapes the characters that are involved and the characters around them. And so it was not, you know, obviously, as with any dystopian novel, it wasn't at like the forefront of the plot, but it definitely was very important to make sure it was really developed and try to do justice by the story and the characters especially. So
right. And the motivator, not that it's necessarily a love connection, but the motivating desire to start this revolution is to go find a missing person.
Yes, yep. So Diana is, I would say, I call her like the main character, I guess. She is the Taurus who, you know, has this urge to go find her childhood best friend, Peter, who is a Cancer, and to do that, she needs to break a lot of laws and get from one part of the country to another. And so she kind of, you know, brings in outside help along the way to track him down. And then, you know, secrets get unveiled and they find some, you know, interesting abilities, I suppose, within Peter and Cameron. And so there's definitely a lot that it's kind of a domino effect, I should say, from there.
Okay, and where can people get the book?
So my website is authoraf.com, and it is available online right now for pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. And all of those links are right on my website or on any of those distributors' sites as well. So you can order it right there. And next week will be the official release date, so it will start printing then. So.
And you self-published, so what was that experience like?
That was, I learned a lot. I definitely thought it was, at first it was very daunting because I realized I had to do all of it myself, but then I kind of went through and I developed a really wonderful team of editors and designers who were just, you know, wonderful people who said, you know, I'm going to help you and we're going to make this book, you know, the best that it can be. And so I found, you know, that sort of crew of people who worked on it with me, and I guess it made me feel a lot more connected to the work itself, and it 100% helped me like fall in love with the process all over again. And typically, like authors who publish traditionally, you know, that's great, and it's, you know, it depends on the author really for what they want to pursue, but self-publishing showed me a side of, you know, this whole industry that authors who traditionally publish rarely get to see. So I thought I was, you know, very lucky to kind of get to experience that as well.
All right, great. So yeah, if you're interested, go find her book. It'll be available in 6 days.
6 days, yep.
And yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having me.